About a week and a half ago, I released a video talking about Chris Chan returning home. Now, this was obviously a pretty dark topic to talk about, considering it was the first time that Chris returned home after being in jail for 2 years, and we all know what he was in jail for. And if you aren't aware, his mother Barbara still lives in that house, so Chris going back there for any reason was a pretty troubling thought. Now the thing is, that video is nowhere to be found because YouTube took it down for a community guidelines violation. I do understand YouTube's motive in this, considering I showed Chris's license plate on screen for about the first 4.5 minutes of the video, but I digress, it's not the point. The fact of the matter is, I did want to talk about this issue a little more now that that video is nowhere to be found, and some updates on the situation because Chris has been spotted in other places now too, and he actually might not be home for good. He may have just been going home just to pick some things up and be on his merry way. But I still think the fact of the matter of him going back to that house, even if it's for like an hour or two, it's something that needs to be talked about because we know what type of danger he put his mother in before, and it could easily happen again because Chris doesn't see the fault in what he did, as he mentioned plenty of time in his jail letters. And if you weren't aware, Chris Chan is out of jail. His charges were dropped, and now he's just free to roam wherever he wants. And that even means that the protection order that was on Barbara Chandler and held Chris from going back to the house is now null and void. Chris actually released a piece of art that said that it is now safe and legal to go back to the house. So even he knew that it was finally time and he was able to do this without any legal repercussions behind it. And so he did it, and he probably went to just go pick up any Sonichu stuff that was still there. And no one knows exactly how much was still there, because for the past few months when people were driving by Chris's house, people were seeing bags of trash outside and the house looking a lot more cleared out from inside the windows because, I mean, it's the Chandler house. People were gawking in the windows, taking pictures, seeing what was in there, and it looked a little more cleared out. So I can't imagine Chris was too happy if his stuff was thrown away, but at the end of the day, there's no, definitive proof that any of it was thrown away to begin with, and Chris was sure as hell the second he was able to, gonna go right back there and look for any of the toys or drawings that he could get and bring them to where he's gonna be staying at now, which leads me to the next question. Does he actually have his own place? Is someone like Chris going to be able to, maintain his own type of living space? I have no idea. We all know how frivolously Chris spends when he has any type of disposable income. And not even disposable income, just income in general. Chris will spend and spend and spend if he sees toys, if he sees really anything with Sonic the Hedgehog on it. Doesn't matter. Chris will be the first to drop every single dime he has on these pointless items to put around his room. And we know where he gets that from. That's from Barb. You see the hoarding situation in that house. You can only imagine that in a year, maybe two, whatever apartment Chris is living in is going to be filled to the brim with just unnecessary clutter and bullshit. And so you may be asking, well, why do people think now that Chris isn't living at home? If he was spotted back at Branchland, wouldn't he just not want to leave? We all know how Chris operates. Once he could get back home, you'd think he'd never want to have to step outside again. And that was until people started spotting him yet again at the Walmart about an hour and a half away. Now, Chris had been in this area pretty often, as it was pretty close to where the group home that he was staying at, or where he was supposedly staying at, was. And so with Chris being spotted around this area so far from his home so often, it's kind of made people believe that he's probably staying around this area. Now, I think this is what a lot of people have wanted to see since Chris went into jail, and to be fair, for years now. For one, he's not around Barbara anymore, and she's not at risk of Chris doing what he did last time. And for the second point, how many people have you heard over the years say, man, I want to see what Chris Chan is like when he's out living on his own, not just under his mother's roof? Well, it seems like that's the case. And, Chris, for all intents and purposes, if he has his own place and he's managing to pay for it, then there's nothing wrong with that. But again, the point has to be made. How is he getting money? How is he paying for this? Who knows? But as time goes on, I assume we'll find out more about this. I brought up before that Chris had been on Twitter a lot again, liking tweets and even sending DMs to certain friends of his. But again, that seems to have all gone quiet too, as Chris hasn't been liking anything or been active really at all in the past 2 weeks on Twitter. He still hasn't come out and made a statement yet, as many people expected him to do the second he got back on there, which again, everything is really uncharacteristically unlike Chris, and in the next picture I'm about to show you, you're about to see that again. And so I want you guys to visualize something for me real quick. Imagine what a Chris Chan shopping cart would look like maybe 4 or 5 years ago. What would you think? A couple 2 liters of Coca-Cola, some frozen food, some stuff for Barbara maybe, just a bunch of junk food like Chris likes to eat. Well, again, it looks like he's taking a new path because someone got a picture of him at Walmart. And I know, you guys are as surprised as I am. Really? He's spotted in Walmart again? Like, no fucking way, right? Like, it's not like this happens every week. But the thing is, it's just so weird because Chris does look visibly skinnier in this picture. I don't know if it's just the angles these pictures are being, like, released at and taken from. Because, like, I mean, the weight fluctuations that Chris appears to be having are insane. But like I said, I think it's just the angles of it. So you can see in this picture, like Chris's shopping cart looks a lot healthier than it used to be. You see some tomatoes in there. You see some peanuts, what looks like to be maybe a thing of olive oil, but you don't notice, like, no soda, no frozen pizzas. Some people brought up that there's tofu in there. I don't know where that's at, but someone else could probably point it out. See some whipping cream, maybe he's making a cake, who knows? And a bunch of yoga mats, because obviously Chris is still, I think a part of him is still in that jail mindset where he had those Turkish prayer rugs that he was using to play cards with himself on, and also I guess using it to pray and talk to Sonichu and whatnot. So now he's going to be using the yoga mats for that. Or maybe Chris is just into yoga now. This seems like an entirely new Chris, just for going off this fucking shopping cart. But the biggest change, and it's been something that we've brought up before, is something like, look at the picture. Look at the picture on screen. Do you notice what's missing here? Where's the medallion? The medallion must be just tucked in Chris's shirt because he doesn't like to go around without it. But in public, Chris does not seem to be wearing the Sonichu medallion anymore. Now, is he embarrassed of it? Is he just trying to, like, he's obviously not trying to lay low by hiding the Sonichu medallion because nobody sees the medallion before they see Chris and just goes, holy shit, like, that's got to be Chris Chan. Like, no one wears a medallion like that. I mean, obviously, once you see it, you know, but no one notices that first. You'll notice the blue hair, you'll notice the pony shirt, then you'll notice the medallion. But I don't know. It's obvious that Chris is still, like, firmly entrenched in the Sonichu, like, mindset, considering that he's still drawing, like, the Sonichu art. He had just opened back up that DeviantArt page of his and posted a bunch of Sonichu stuff, so he still loves it. He's still about it, but I don't know, maybe the medallion, because it looks so bad now. I don't know if you guys have seen the medallion, but it looks like it's just decaying away, because Chris made it out of, like, I don't know, he made it in jail, and, like, he used mustard for the yellow coloring on it. It's not a lie. That's the God's honest truth, and he's still wearing that thing, but apparently just not in public. So who knows? Who knows why he's not wearing it? But seeing Chris not wearing his medallion, I mean, just you can't take his word for anything, because that just means he's not being truthful at all. And finally, the last thing to look at here is the people who I assume took this picture also took this video of Chris leaving the Walmart. Now, you might notice something weird here in about a second. Who's that woman with him? Like, who? Chris now has just a random woman at his side. We talked about this last week in the video that's now deleted, that Chris was spotted with a woman at what I called a Walmart, but many of you made me aware it was a store called Food Lion. And that's not a real place. You guys are just fucking with me. But this time, they found Chris here, and he's walking around with this woman, and I can only assume it's just his handler. I've already seen a lot of divisive comments about this video. A lot of people think that this is like a younger girl. A lot of people think that this is someone just Chris's age. A lot of people think that this is Chris's girlfriend. Nonetheless, we don't know who this is, but they are being spotted out and about with Chris. And like I said, if I had to make a bet as to who this is, it's just someone like maybe that's there to make sure Chris like isn't doing anything crazy. I don't know how this stuff works. You know, I don't know how the ongoing life of someone who just got out of jail for like doing what he did, how that goes. The charges got dropped, so I can't imagine they even really care anymore. So with that being said, it's like maybe this is just a friend of Chris's or something, but we won't know until Chris says something himself, and until that happens, we're just going to have to sit here and wait. But yeah, that's what's going on now. Chris seemingly isn't back at Branchland full-time, but he can seemingly go back whenever he wants, and again, that's still a terrifying thought, but it's a lot, you can sleep a little easier knowing that Chris is most likely resting his head an hour and a half away from Barb. But as of right now, nothing's confirmed. Chris could be staying at the house and just be traveling back and forth for things that he needs to do still like in the area where the group home used to be. Who knows? But as more of this comes out, you guys know I got y'all covered. I did want to just make this video because last week, since it got taken down, a lot of people still don't know that Chris was back at the house, and that, you know, it's just a scary thought all around. Just thought I needed to let y'all know, because I did tell y'all I'd be covering this until we found out what happened with the jail saga, and now that that's done, it's like, well, what's going to happen next? So I'm still going to continue to keep y'all covered here, and I hope you guys enjoy it. So until next time, I'm out of here, and y'all have a great rest of your day. And later today, if you guys want to, on Kiwitapes' channel at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. This is on Wednesday, September 20th. If you guys want to come stop by, we're going to be doing Too High for Stupid, our podcast tonight. I think you guys will enjoy it. So with all that being said, guys, I'm out of here, and y'all have a great rest of your day. Take care.